moving on, we're going to go on to critical race theory. Critical race theory is the new transphobia, the new homophobia, the new communism. Now, as a former conservative and former libertarian, and a person who was in the hardcore conservative space for 2 or 3 years of my life, this is a new communism of the right. This is trying to build up a kind of fear within the populace. When I was in the conservative circles, this was a main tactic that they used. And a lot of people in my circle actually believed these things. Before, for Europeans, that is Islamophobia, anti-immigration. They use these kinds of things to really spice up the mass, to pump up the mass, to pump up the fear, and to really build a sense of a community around one specific thing they hate. And this is one of the things they hate. This is one of the great things that they do not like. Now, the conservative argument for this is that they feel like it's damaging history, that's teaching history wrong, and a lot of people don't agree with these kinds of things. But overall, I think this is a great way and a great way to look at history and to look at the systemic problems within Western society. Now, not a lot of people know what critical race theory is. The right will spew all these kind of bullshit claims and be high on mushrooms all the time. But it's not about hating white people. Critical race theory is not about hating white people. And I just want to specify this. White people are not being discriminated against with this theory. This theory only states that slavery is one of the main causes, or is the main cause, of a lot of problems, a lot of disparities, a lot of inequalities between colored people and white people. This disenfranchisement in the government, in the army, in different walks of life stems from slavery. And that's it. It's as simple as that. That our institutions are systemically racist. They're founded on systemic racism. Like the police, for example, the U.S. police was founded to hunt and catch runaway slaves. That's a systemic race problem. And a lot of government institutions start out from that point in America. That's all it is. It's not saying that white culture is bad, that white people are bad, that, of course, we're all human, must live together. Of course. It's not saying that. It's just saying that, acknowledging that there has been racist roots in the past and that we have to live up to those things. That's critical race theory. When you talk about homophobia, when you talk about homophobics and transphobics in the conservative community, really that comes from a space of fear because they haven't really met anybody who is LGBTQ. Yeah, nobody is normal, but then they feel like there's a type of normal that's correct, and that's in the conservative community. When I was in it, that's the view that was, asserted around my friend group, around the people I was with, for a very long time on the internet. Yeah, everybody is unique in every single way. I can be quirky sometimes too, and I think we just have to accept that. I mean, a lot of them use kind of religious basis, religious arguments, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all bleed red, and that's the most important thing, that we all are human. Everybody is human, and we have to accept that, and we have to move forward with that. Even though if you feel uncomfortable, I think acceptance is a great thing. Yeah, I like to be kind. I think that's a main principle I have. Even though when I was a conservative and when I was a libertarian, I kind of realized that was a mistake because I lost that kindness when I did become one, because a lot of the community is fueled by hatred, fueled by fear, and fueled by dislike of something, and that's not the way you should look at things. You should look at the things in a way that you can progress someone, you can improve someone. And in terms of homophobics, one of the things that you can do is to be empathetic, to listen to their point of view, even if you don't agree with them, and overall, just feel like you can talk to them, you can listen to them, and really state your point of view and really state your experience. Because I think one of the things that really got me out of that kind of circle is really opening up to other people, opening up to everybody else, and just feeling that I could, you know, I could be something, that they could be something more, that they feel comfortable around you. And that's the only thing. Compassion is needed when de-radicalizing someone in their point of view, really making them see another way. And this is the thing with CRT. Now, we're going to look at the video from General Milley. General Milley was asked about critical race theory in a state commission. Now, we're going to watch a video about General Mark Milley taking down Republican Matt Gaetz. A lot of things about this video I do like. I do kind of support, I guess. But there's some kind of things that are a little bit weird about when he talks. He's an army general, so he's going to be a little bit more conservative. He's going to be a little bit more laid back. And, those things kind of happen. And we have to look at that at face value. So let's get on to the video.
First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, etc., I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that.
Talking about this is that, I do feel with white rage, a lot of, you're going to see in the Fox video I have later on, white rage is talked about a lot because they feel like it's a talking point that goes up on race. Everybody feels that race is a really big component to everything, right? And the conservatives will hit on this point and say, oh, you're discriminating against us. We feel threatened because you're saying that white people are bad. White rage is a actual term, a scientific term for a phenomenon. White rage. White rage is the scientific term for feeling threatened. It's a term that when you feel this a type of way, it's when you feel that is when it started off with being about white people, but then it's turned into something more. It's turned to kind of a status symbol. It's like, how would I put it in simple terms? It is the scientific theory that white people are people in the position of power. So white people, for most of the last few centuries, have been dominated by white people. So when that kind of power empowerment and that kind of dynamic really threatens you and really threatens your existence, then you're going to be more conservative, then you're going to be more reactionary, and then you're going to be hateful of other people, hateful of people who you feel that are taking that empowerment away from you, that power away from you, that power disparity, that first-class citizenship you feel from you. And that comes from what they call second-class citizens, which is mostly people of color in the West. That is white rage. It stems from a place of white people and their kind of reactionary, that kind of the reactionary senses, the reactionary ways. But overall, it does expand into so much more. This the theory of white rage can go into any other civilization. Take for the Japanese, for example. Take for them in their kind of treatment of African Americans, of African people, right? When they feel like there's another group that's threatening them, then people are going to react in a certain way. And the majority, The people with the most power for centuries on end will act in a certain way and will be very angry. And that is right rage. It stems from so much more than just being about white people, but being about actual ideal.
That out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964.
Really, this video right here brings up a lot of points of contention with a lot of people about this. He goes on to state that they shouldn't consider the military as woke, or they shouldn't consider it as left-wing or communist. Another term for white rage that can be a term for, well, one of the things is the theory of white rage comes from the West. So, I mean, it's a little bit Eurocentric, a little bit American-centric, but all in all, really the notion about being of white rage comes from the West. It's a Western point of thinking, and maybe there can be other terms for it, but for the generalization of it, it comes in with historical terms, because for the last few hundred years, really, white nations have been, because white nations have dominated the world for so long, really, you can't really say anything else than white rage, because white people, for the last 400 years or so, for the last for 5 centuries by now, have been in a position of privilege, have been in a position of power. And that's just a fact. But I want to show you something. I want to show you what the wrong way of perceiving white rage is, and perceiving race theory, critical race theory. How has my privileged education affected your worldview? Well, yes, I'm in a privileged position. We're in a capitalist society, and there's a lot of inequality. Well, I'm in the privileged position that I'm in because due to the assets and the wealth that my parents have. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. And I feel like I have to work in the system. I'm only one person. I can't change the system. I have to work within the system. And that's a criticism from a lot of leftist people, a lot of tankies on the internet, a lot of rad libs. It's like, why do you still are conservatives? Why do you still work within the capitalist system if you want to change, if you want to change if you want to be a leftist? And the thing is, one person can't completely change the global economy system, the global system of economy, which is capitalism, ever. I don't think I'm in a position to change that. So I have to work within the system, but I can show my dislike for the system and the things I want to reform, the things I want to change. Yes, I have a privileged education, but I'm trying to put that privileged education to something more constructive and to really advise people about it. Really, my unique position is that I was a conservative before. I was a libertarian before. I watched Ben Shapiro. I watched Stephen Crowder. I watched PragerU. I watched very right-wing kind of news pundits, and I kind of surrounded myself in an online circle which was very right-wing. And that has to change, and that had to change. And this is what I'm doing right now. I'm just saying that these things have to change, and we have to accept these things as they are. And that's the important point, is that people change. And no matter if you had a privileged education, no matter where you come from, you can have certain views, right?
Little bit about tomorrow and the school board meeting, because this is the last school board meeting of the summer before August, and what we've seen over the past week has been an interesting set of developments. Now, for over a year and a half, parents in Loudoun County have been showing up to these school board meetings every 2 weeks to make their voices heard, whether it's for opening schools, whether it's opposing critical race theory, whether it's standing up for someone's First Amendment rights. Now, these parents are taxpaying parents in Loudoun County or taxpaying grandparents in Loudoun County. And they're coming out here to address their school system that their kids, their grandparent kids go to, and that they pay for with their taxes. We've obviously created a movement here, which is made up of parents who are working all day, every day to recall the school board. We all remember in March when you had a private Facebook group with 6 school board members, and in that group,
I do. That's the thing. That's the thing, Dead Knight. I do look at my own views. I challenge my own viewpoint. Why do you think I changed my views? Why do you think I moved to the left from my previous position? I listened to Steven Pinker, who's a neoliberal and that I really supported in the past. I've supported Ben Shapiro in the past. I've supported Dave Rubin, Steven Crowder in the past. I have a lot of friends who I've listened to, right? That right-wing kind of friends who are anti-immigration, pro-Brexit, Islamophobic. I've listened to all of them. I've listened to every single thing that's challenged my beliefs systems on the right. And on the left, I've read Karl Marx. I've read Mao Zedong. I read the Little Red Book from Mao Zedong. I read all of these things. Really, I have challenged my views. I have changed my viewpoints and have shifted. I was not conservative. I'm not conservative forever. Don't you think that I just went from conservative to social democrat in like a fortnight? Before, I identified myself as a liberal. Then I moved over to hardcore conservative, then libertarian, then hardcore conservative, then over to centrist. Then from centrist, I made the leap onto social democrat, and that kind of process was a good long 8 years. A long 8 years of trying to find things to believe in, trying to find information, trying to find facts. It's psychotic. It's psychotic clownery from kind of the right wing. You know, before, when I was younger, I probably would have supported this. When I was younger, when I was a conservative, probably this point of view right here, the point of view of recalling the school board, I probably would support. Now, this happened 2 days ago. Now, I want to give some insight into what happened 2 days ago. 2 days ago, in Virginia County school board meeting, they proposed that they were going to teach critical race theory and to put in a new transgender policy, meaning that they would respect pronouns that people use for their sexuality, and they would make transgender toilets or toilets that reflect someone's gender, right? And these parents right here, these concerned parents, absolutely do not give two shits about it. They see critical race theory on Fox News. They hear Ben Shapiro on the radio at night, and somehow they like to stick a stick up their ass and then cry out in pain over why they are oppressed and why white people are oppressed in today's society. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a straight heterosexual male. So those are my pronouns. Nothing special.